Nothing makes a fantasy owner more mad than drafting someone in the early rounds that is just a complete bust. So if you're watching this video, this is probably why you clicked on this video, because we are going to be breaking down the players that you most likely need to avoid in this fantasy football season. So we are going to go through rounds 1 through 6. Each one of us have 2 players breaking up the rounds, and we are going to just go again rounds 1 through 6. So let's go ahead and get this started. I will start us off in round number 1. Now, I will say that this is not an easy choice. I had to do a lot of research, a lot of digging in, because honestly, looking through this list, I would be glad to have any of these players. So I had to take it a little bit of a different approach and say which one had maybe a little bit more of a riskier approach to the first round. And that player is Cooper Kupp. Currently, he has an ADP of number 6, making him wide receiver 3. Okay, I know that he is in the NFC West, which is a very good division to be in if you're a wide receiver. That currently gives him the 19th easiest strength of schedule. Now, where my concerns come with him over any other player in the first round, I am genuinely worried about Matthew Stafford and all of his injuries that he's faced the last couple of seasons. That's with his elbow and his neck injuries, where we saw him miss roughly half of the season last year. Now, I know that that was last season, and he's expected to be fully healthy heading into this season. Now, my concerns. That O-line is not going to be good for Matthew Stafford. They currently are ranked 31st by Sharp Football Analysis. And that is one of the most valued analysis websites that you can look at in terms of this position group. And they have them at 31st. So you can expect that Matthew Stafford is going to get pressured a ton this season. So he's likely to be on his back every other play, getting a ton of pressures in his face. So the likelihood that he's going to be healthy every game of the season is actually quite low. He's an older quarterback. Yes, he signed a big contract, and that contract's going to put him all the way up to age 39. I don't know what his current age is, but I know he's mid-30s, but now he's had a little bit of an injury bug that's kind of put him up there, right? And now he's a little bit more of at risk. So because of that, we also saw that the LA defense moved on from Jalen Ramsey. This only means that the Rams are in a complete sell mode. Their defense isn't going to be good. Their O-line is already bad. So now it's like, what's next, right? And we also saw, if you were keeping up with Matthew Stafford and the Rams, you saw that Matthew Stafford was also a trade target this last offseason because he was unwilling to work out a contract extension. He just signed that contract extension a season ago, and they said, absolutely not. I think that we need to figure something out in order to help this team out, because if we keep going at this rate, it's not going to work out. So it worries me going into the season, because if everything doesn't pan out for the Rams, I could see the Rams saying, hey, you know what? Screw it. Let's just move on from Matthew Stafford. Maybe let's move on from Cooper Kupp, and let's just be in complete rebuild mode. I don't want that within the first round. So Cooper Kupp being in that situation absolutely scares me. Now, we all know that Cooper Kupp is an absolute monster. I would love to have him on my team, but for the purpose of this episode, he is the biggest risk within the first round. If we look at his injury history, he has missed games each 4 years out of the last 5 years. And that is a big deal. He is projected right now. He is the oldest player going within the first round at age 30. I think the next oldest is Tyreek Hill at 29, who currently I would take over Cooper Kupp currently, right? So I think that putting all of your eggs in one basket with Cooper Kupp, I know that he is an absolute beast previously. But if you're looking at it, I think that it would be maybe a little bit of a safer option to go with the hero running back and Bijan Robinson, Stephon Diggs, anyone like that over Cooper Kupp. Now, if you're falling at 8, 9 and Cooper Kupp is still there, then I think you absolutely take him. But Cooper Kupp is the biggest risk within the first round. Anyways, that's all I got to say on Cooper Kupp. So that is the first round. So let's move on to the second round, Nathan.
Yeah. Well, so we're gonna jump into here. I will say you handled that like a champ, though, DJ. You had the hardest task there, and that was picking someone in the first round. That's not an easy job to do.
It was not easy.
Yeah, because like you said, there's pretty much all those guys are potential or should be first round picks, but you handled it pretty good. But moving on to the second round, I went Josh Jacobs, and I went Josh Jacobs because we saw the thing that's going on with him and Saquon Barkley, and Barkley ended up coming back to the Giants, got his contract, which really wasn't. I mean, wasn't much different than what he was getting, honestly. He could have just taken the tag and it might have been the same thing. I don't know. But Josh Jacobs pretty much just said, peace out, Vegas. We know going into this time last year, they opted out of signing him. They're basically saying, we're not picking up your fifth-year option. You haven't proved enough yet. We don't know if you're worth the money. And then we saw the year he had last year. It was incredible. Basically proved to Las Vegas and the whole Raiders organization why they need to give him the money, why they need to give him the contract on re-signing him, and they still haven't yet to do that. And he's pretty much left Las Vegas, and we don't know what the situation is in there and with Josh Jacobs. So this is why I'm kind of waiting back to see, because we don't know if he's gonna come up and play. We don't know if he's gonna sit out and wait. We don't know what his deal is going to be. But I do know that his ADP overall is 16 and at running back position is 7. He does have the 16th easiest strength of schedule. He is a running back 1 in my eyes, but I'm staying away from him personally because of all the stuff that's going on with Vegas and him kind of just holding out, not going anywhere to go. But it sucks to see that because of the year he had last year. And then offense doesn't really get any better this year. You kind of replaced Derek Carr with a subpar Jimmy Garoppolo. So, yeah, I think that we could see Josh Jacobs had the same year he had last year. So, I mean, that's what sucks is that, he could arguably be a top 3 running back in fantasy football this year. But I'm not taking that big of a risk if we don't know what the situation is going into the year, especially now it's preseason. We're getting in, coming up on the second preseason games, and he's not there. So I don't know. I'm holding off here. Josh Jacobs, maybe go somewhere else. Maybe like a Ramondre Stevenson or in the second round. Or Nick Chubb, there's better options with players who are on teams that are going to be there and can be secure and, that are going to be there when it comes week 1 and there's not really much controversial between contracts or playtime. But that's all I got on Josh Jacobs for round 2. So moving on to round 3. Dalton.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I think those are good, solid options there for guys that I would definitely steer clear of for round 1 and round 2. I think DJ and Nathan did great on that. And so, actually, guys, I actually had a player that I was actually going to choose for round 3, but now I've made a quick pivot after some news that just came in as Nathan was talking. Guys, Dalvin Cook just landed on a team, and now I think I know who my third round pick I'm going to stay away from. What do you guys think he went?
I just saw it too. I just hear
Jets. Jets.
Guys, he just went to the New York Jets on a 1-year, $8.6 million contract. It's only a 1-year deal, but so in redraft leagues, that tells me I'm probably going to stay away from that 1-year deal that's going on there, probably around Breece Hall. So for me, in the third round, Breece Hall is currently going in around there. He is currently going in on I think he's the ranked 33rd ADP and the 13th best back going in right now with a 13th strength of schedule easiest. So, I mean, overall, that's not bad. I had a lot of high hopes on Breece Hall. I wasn't going to choose him, but overall, now that Dalvin Cook is now going there here on this breaking news on the Boys on the Bench in the middle of our podcast, this is definitely someone I think overall I'm going to stay away from. Obviously, if they still had a lot of high hopes on Breece Hall, I think they would have not gone after a veteran quarterback. I know there were talks about it, but I think that this is now going to turn into a two-headed monster type thing, and who knows how this is going to be divided, because we all know how good Dalvin Cook is, and we know how the uncertainty is after an injury like Breece Hall's. So that kind of has me a little worried as to what did the Jets know about this injury that the rest of us don't. Is Breece Hall ready? Is he going to be able to hit the ground running? And I don't think so. I think that this is telling me that he's going to have a very slow start to the season coming in, and that they're going to have to work him back into it. That tells me that I'm going to stay away, and I don't want to waste my third round pick on that and someone who's going to be slowly being introduced back into the season. So I think that is ultimately going to hurt you, especially we know how important games are to win in the fantasy season, especially at the very beginning. I don't know how many times I've lost week 1 or 2 or 3 and it's come back and bit me later in the season. So I don't want to waste a third round pick on someone that's being reworked into that. Now for dynasty cases, I would hang on to him. Don't worry about it. It's only 1 year deal with Dalvin Cook, but for redraft, I'm staying away from this. So I would probably lean towards more guys in that area, such as Travis Etienne or someone of those type of sorts that are very similar back as well, just without all the uncertainty. So guys, that is my third round pick of someone that I would definitely stay away from. I know that was kind of crazy coming with the breaking news, but I think that it was kind of perfect timing for where we are in this segment. So guys, there is my round 3. And now we're going to go ahead and take it into round 4. Go take it away, DJ.
My round 4 pick, this is someone that I am highly passionate about, but highly passionate in the sense of I don't know why he is getting drafted at the spot that he is. And that player is TJ Hawkinson. Currently has an overall ADP of 42, making him the 3rd tight end off of the board. He does have the 20th easiest strength of schedule. It's kind of midway, nothing too flashy. It's not too good. It's not too bad. But I do not like him here. I don't have any justification for why people would be taking him here. I know people's biggest things is, yes, he finished a tight end 2 last year in 2022, right? But he had 2 very big games that made him tight end number 2. And if we look at 2 of those games that he played in, they were against the New York Giants. I know one of them was in the playoffs, their first round of the playoffs, but those were the only 2 games that we saw TJ Hawkinson go over 100 yards receiving for the Minnesota Vikings. Ever since he was traded, those were the only 2 games. So he's not, I know he's highly productive and he's a really good dude, but as a 4th round pick, the 4th player that's supposed to be the 4th best player on your team, I don't think that that's TJ Hawkinson. Also, in those New York Giants games, he of his 3 touchdowns that he scored with the Minnesota Vikings, 2 of those came against the New York Giants, right? I mean, I struggled to see outside of that game. And I know fantasy players have those outlier games, but I think that was kind of his saving grace. That was it. Because if you look at the games outside of those, outside of the New York Giants matchups, his highest finish was a tight end 6. And you're currently drafting him as a tight end number 3. And I don't see the justification. And if we also look at it, it's the players that surround him in the ADP. There are discounted wide receiver ones, running back ones, and then elite level quarterbacks. That's who I say you take in these rounds. Because if we look around, it's Dameon Pierce right under him. Amari Cooper is 1 spot above him. So if you have the situation where Amari Cooper slips, someone else takes, I don't know, someone further down like a Dameon Pierce, then you should absolutely take Amari Cooper. But if you're looking to get a quarterback, go Justin Herbert. He's a couple slots under TJ Hawkinson. Because I think that TJ Hawkinson this year, he's absolutely due for regression. I think he had a year last year that is highly, highly difficult to follow. I think with the addition of Jordan Addison on top of Justin Jefferson and KJ Osborne, Alexander Madison even, it's going to be difficult for him to have that type of year that he had last year. So if I am in that position in the 4th round, take that Dameon Pierce, take the Amari Cooper if he's there, or even take Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's going to be passing a ton. Go ahead and get your quarterback and you're solid. Because then if you look at the next round, tight ends that are available in the next 2 rounds, Darren Waller, 5th round. Kyle Pitts, 5th round. Dallas Goedert, 6th round. I think that the 3 of them are going to have very similar seasons to what TJ Hawkinson's about to have this year. I don't think TJ Hawkinson finishes top 3 in fantasy where you're taking him. So take somebody else in the 4th round, and I guarantee you'll be thanking me later. But anyways, that's all I've got to say for the 4th round, and let's move on to the 5th. And Nathan, I will kick it your way.
Yeah. So going into round 5, this is another guy I'm going to stay away from. I went running back again. and that's James Conner. A lot of people might not agree with me there, but I'm gonna tell you why I go James Conner. He kind of had a mediocre year last year. He had 183 attempts on 782 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns. His ADP right now is 55 overall, and for the running back position, he's number 20th overall. Me personally, I'm staying away from this in the 5th round because of he plays for the Cardinals. Guys, that I don't think you can trust anybody on that Cardinals team right now. They're kind of in like a rebuild stage. Like they're pretty much starting over. I feel like I really do, and I think a lot of their games going into this season, they're going to be playing from behind and not like one score games. I think they're going to be behind by 14, maybe 20 points, maybe even 17 points. So I look for this year to be a lot of passing from Colt McCoy or whoever else comes in and plays in the quarterback position. But I expect them to throw a lot of medium and deep passes. Could that help in the passing game with James Conner? Possibly. But I mean, when you're down in the 4th quarter, you're not trying to dump the ball 2 yards back behind the quarterback and then try to let James Conner make a play happen. You're going to be pushing the ball down the field. And that's why I struggle even getting wide receivers for the Cardinals offense this year. It's just going to be a terrible, terrible, terrible offense, a terrible year for the Cardinals. They're pretty much just now like, okay, we're going into next year and with the number 1 overall pick. That I feel like that's what they're leaning towards, and really just kind of now buying into the future and just getting ready to plan around the future and see what they can do. But just y'all might have y'all's opinions, but just everything that's coming out of Arizona and what that team has been put together and what that team is looking like, it's just I'm staying away from anybody on the Cardinals offense, and that includes James Conner. That's all I really have on James Conner in round 5. Not really much to talk about on him other than the fact that he plays for the Arizona Cardinals and the offense is going to be terrible there. But yep, that's all I got for round 5. But moving on to our final round in round 6, Dalton's got a guy for us, so let's hear what he has to say.
Okay, guys, so now we are finally in round 6 and I'm going to share also another running back, someone that you should stay away from in round 6, and that person is DeAndre Swift. Guys, he currently has an ADP of 67, and he is the 26th ADP for running backs. But here's the kicker. He has the hardest strength of schedule in the NFL with the new team that he's with in the Philadelphia Eagles. Guys, the Philadelphia Eagles are not the most ideal landing spot for someone such as DeAndre Swift, especially for a running back who is a receiving back. So I don't see Swift making a huge impact in the receiving game either, because although he is predicted by experts to have a 30% target share, guys, the Eagles ranked dead last in running back targets. They hardly ever target their running backs, and a large part of that is due to someone such as their quarterback, like Jalen Hurts, who is going to ideally run the ball more than he's going to check the ball down to a running back. So I don't see someone like Swift really being used to his full capabilities as someone that he's being on a team such as the Lions, where he did get all those checkdowns. But now he's also playing behind a lot of good receiving threats too, such as A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Goddard. So things are incredibly complex for someone like Swift to be on this offense. So also when it comes to goal line for a running back, that I feel like a lot of that's going to fall down to Penny and Hurts. So Rashad Penny is going to soak up most of that. So I feel like he's only going to be there for the receiving game work, but even then, I don't even know how much of that he's actually going to get. So just by going by that is why I'm going to stay away from someone such as DeAndre Swift in this. So somebody that I would preferably go for around him would be someone such as the likes of Rashad White, Alexander Madison, and Isaiah Pacheco. So these are, I feel, 3 running backs that are around him or falling shortly right behind him in round 6 that I would definitely target instead of DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, I kind of want to just piggy on that real quick because you brought up a stat to where like if they're in the goal line, DeAndre Swift's not going to get the ball. I agree with that because like Jason Kelsey said, 92% of the time their quarterback sneak works. And you can do that when your quarterback squats 650 pounds. I mean, we all saw it last year. It's you get they need 3 yards for a first down or a touchdown. Jalen Hurts pick it up on a quarterback sneak. So yeah, I agree with that. The dude, Jalen Hurts is a freak of nature.
Yeah, and I mean, even if they take kind of a similar approach to what the Detroit Lions did last year, they didn't really value DeAndre Swift into the red zone anyway. They let him do a lot of the work before the red zone, and then when it came red zone, they gave it to Jamal Williams, and that's why we saw him lead the league in the NFL rushing touchdowns. So, I mean, I think that's valid.
Well, it's going to be interesting because he's coming from a 2-headed committee, and now he's coming into like a 4-headed monster offense, right? So there's a lot of mouths to feed, and not only just mouths, but they're hungry mouths. These are some big players on this team that are involved in this offense very heavily, and so bringing in another player that's going to be a key piece for them, I don't see it. There's already too many key pieces. So
you heard what the Madden rating people said, right, about the Eagles? Like a lot of people were talking about like, oh, why is this person on the Eagles not in the 90s? Or why is this person not in the 90s? So they came back and said, because if we put everybody where they were supposed to be, he said the Eagles and Madden would be unfreaking touchable.
That's about it. I mean, it's not wrong.
He was like, what do you want us to do? He was like, we got to make the game playable. He's like, you playing the Eagles, it's an automatic loss. If all your starters are in the 90s.
Well, their defensive side of the ball too.
I know. This is like, half that defense is should be in the 90s, if not almost all of them.
Yeah. And speaking of automatic losses, if we're talking about automatic losses, the players that we just mentioned, most likely to give you an automatic loss this season. So if you are drafting these players, considering drafting these players in these rounds 1 through 6, I would probably consider otherwise, right? So anyways, if you are a bunch of degenerate bettors just like us, we have created a Discord group that is centered around not only fantasy football, but also sports betting. And we would love for y'all to join it. So here is the code in order to get in our Discord group. So by all means, join that and y'all can get into a degenerate sports betting group. Something that's probably not a healthy choice, but it's the best choice. But anyways, and it's
jump in there and let's jump in there and let's throw some money on some NASCAR, boys. Let's go.
Nathan's got the top NASCAR picks. Me and Dalton will probably stick exclusively to NFL, NBA, MLB, all the other great stuff. But if you're looking for NASCAR advice, that's Big Nate. Anyways, thank y'all so much.
Got you covered.
Thank y'all so much for listening to this, and we will see y'all next time.